3 goals, 0 conceded, 6 points clear. That is not a summary. That is a statement. That is Arsenal sending a message to every team in the Premier League, every pundit who doubted them, and every fan who spent sleepless nights wondering if this squad had the ability to go all the way. On the 2nd of May 2026 at the Emirates Stadium, Arsenal did not just beat Fulham. They put on a performance that reminded the entire football world exactly who they are. The final scoreline reads Arsenal 3, Fulham 0. But if you were watching that game and you only focused on the goals, you missed the bigger story. Because what happened on that pitch against Fulham was about far more than 3 points. It was about confidence returning. It was about players stepping up in the biggest moments of the season. It was about a manager making a bold call and being proven completely right. And it was about a club that is now standing on the edge of something truly historic. Let us set the scene first. Arsenal went into this match knowing that anything less than a win would allow the pressure to build from behind. Manchester City still have games in hand. The title race is not over. And yet, rather than showing signs of anxiety or a team carrying the weight of expectation, Arsenal were absolutely ruthless from the first whistle to the last. Now look at these match statistics, shared immediately after the final whistle. The numbers confirm everything. 18 shots compared to Fulham's 10. 9 shots on target compared to just 1 for the visitors. 35 touches inside the opposition box versus 13 for Fulham. 447 passes completed by Arsenal against 345 for Fulham. Over 54% possession. 3 corners taken to Fulham's 4. And Fulham committed 12 fouls, which tells its own story about how desperate they became trying to stop Arsenal from playing. Here is what you really need to understand about those numbers. They do not just show a win, they show a team that completely suffocated their opponent. Fulham had 1 shot on target. That is not a defensive performance. That is a masterclass in total control. Arsenal were not fortunate. They were not hanging on. They were in control from the moment the game kicked off and they never let Fulham breathe. That is the context. Now let us go deeper. Before we go any further, let me be clear about what was at stake here. Arsenal are fighting on 2 fronts right now. The Premier League title race is entering its final stages. Manchester City are still in the picture. Every single point matters. At the same time, there is a Champions League semi-final on the horizon, with Atletico Madrid standing between Arsenal and a place in the final. That is the reality of where this club is right now. If Arsenal had dropped points against Fulham, the pressure would have shifted dramatically. The gap at the top of the table would have narrowed. Confidence going into Tuesday against Atletico could have been damaged. Momentum, which is one of the most powerful forces in football, would have slowed. Everything that Arsenal have built across this season could have begun to unravel in the space of 90 minutes. Instead, they did the opposite. They expanded the gap. They boosted confidence. They sent a message. And they gave their manager every reason to believe that this squad is ready for what comes next. If you want deeper analysis on stories like this, covering every angle Arsenal fans need to know, then hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is dedicated to giving you the full picture every single time. The Gyokeres Factor. Let us begin with the man of the moment, Viktor Gyokeres. 2 goals, 1 assist. His best performance in an Arsenal shirt since arriving at the club. Gyokeres was described as a £60 million striker when he signed, and for large parts of this season, that price tag felt like pressure rather than a badge of honour. But against Fulham, everything clicked. He was physical, he was clinical. He was exactly the kind of striker Arsenal needed at exactly the right moment. Now look at the goals scored in calendar year 2026 across Europe. Gyokeres has now scored 18 goals in 2026 alone. That puts him second only to Harry Kane on 24. He sits above Kylian Mbappe on 13, Erling Haaland on 10, and Robert Lewandowski on 10. Here is how I see this. Those are not good numbers. Those are world-class numbers. That is the company Viktor Gyokeres is keeping right now, and that fact alone should settle any remaining debate about whether Arsenal spent their money wisely last summer. He is performing at the level of the very best strikers on the planet during the most important part of the season. That timing is everything. Speaking after the game, Gyokeres was composed and measured. He said, and I want to be accurate here, at this stage we have to win the games that are left. We showed a good performance and are happy to have got the 3 points. He then added, I think we always go into games believing we are going to play well and create a lot of chances. Today we did that and we enjoyed it. And on the title race, he was direct. He said, we never stopped believing. We are not going to. That is how it is and we keep going. We just need to focus on the next game. When asked about their chances of winning something, he said, it is not so many games left now. We are in a good position now, so of course we have a good chance. Now, here is what this really means. Gyokeres is not just speaking positively for the cameras. There is a mental strength inside those words. He is not over-celebrating. He is not declaring the title won. He is focused, grounded and locked in on the process. That is the mindset of a player operating at the highest level. And the fact that he backs his words up with goals and assists and makes everything he says completely credible. There is another milestone worth discussing. Look at what the Premier League themselves highlighted. Gyokeres has now scored 20 or more goals in all competitions in his debut Arsenal season. He is only the third player in the Premier League era to do this for Arsenal. The first was Thierry Henry in 1999, 2000. The second was Alexis Sanchez in 2014, 2015. And now Viktor Gyokeres in 2025-26. Let me break this down for you. Joining Thierry Henry and Alexis Sanchez on that list is not a small thing. Both of those players are Arsenal legends. Both went on to define eras at the club. The fact that Gyokeres has already reached that milestone in his very first season suggests that what we are seeing is not a temporary burst of form. It is the emergence of a player who could define this Arsenal era in the same way those legends defined theirs. Wayne Rooney, speaking on BBC Sport, captured the importance of Gyokeres perfectly. Rooney said Arsenal have sometimes missed a strong attacking focal point in past seasons, and Gyokeres provides exactly that. He praised the striker for occupying defenders and maintaining a strong goal return throughout the season. Rooney's key point was this: the title run-in is exactly when you need a number 9 most. And right now, Gyokeres is delivering. Here is my take on what is really going on with that Rooney assessment. He is right. Arsenal in previous seasons have sometimes struggled to find that clinical edge at the top of the pitch in the biggest moments. Gyokeres has removed that problem completely. He is a reference point, a physical presence and a match winner all at once, and he is peaking at exactly the right time. Arteta himself reinforced this view after the game when he said Arsenal need players in a big and positive emotional state. He described Gyokeres as being exactly that kind of player, confident, scoring important goals and ready for Tuesday's match against Atletico Madrid. Let me put this in plain terms for you. Gyokeres has answered his critics in the most powerful way possible. Goals win arguments in football. He has delivered when it mattered most, and he goes into the Champions League semi-final second leg carrying that confidence and momentum. That is an enormous advantage for Arsenal, the Myles Lewis-Skelly revelation. Now let's talk about the story that genuinely surprised everyone. Myles Lewis-Skelly starting in central midfield. Let me be clear about what this means. Lewis-Skelly had played 76 senior matches for Arsenal before being given the opportunity to start in his actual natural position. 76 matches, that is an extraordinary figure. This is a young player who has been deployed across multiple positions, adapted every time, performed when asked, and never once publicly complained about not playing where he felt most comfortable. And then against Fulham, Arteta finally gave him the chance. The result was breathtaking. Let us go through his numbers from the game. A 97% pass accuracy, completing 64 out of 66 passes, 7 duels won, 6 possessions won back, 4 fouls won, 4 final third entries, 2 tackles made, 1 chance created, 0 fouls conceded. 0. Here is the part most people are missing about those numbers. A 97% pass accuracy is elite level by any measure. But combine that with 7 duels won and 6 possessions won, and you are not looking at a tidy, safe midfielder. You are looking at a player who is dominant both with and without the ball. That is a rare combination, especially for someone playing in that central midfield role for the very first time this season. Lewis-Skelly himself spoke beautifully about the experience after the game. He said, I only knew I was playing in midfield in the changing room before the game, and when I saw the team sheet, I had to scratch my eyes a little, but I have to thank the manager for that. It felt so natural, and it was really special for me today. He went on to say, for me coming into the game, I had to make sure I took the energy from the crowd, go into the first duel and be positive, because when you play with confidence, it really helps. And then he added something that shows real professionalism. He said, it was just coming in and making sure I was the best version of myself. I do not take that lightly, and I make sure I recover well, eat well, and I do not take that lightly. So really pleased with today, and we go again on Tuesday. Let me walk you through this step by step. There is a phrase Lewis-Skelly used that stood out to me. He said it felt so natural. That is the key word. When a player describes a role as feeling natural, it means everything about their instincts, their movement, their decision-making is aligned with that position. You cannot fake that feeling. You either have it or you do not. And Lewis-Skelly clearly has it in central midfield. The Premier League themselves highlighted his performance, showing a touch map that showed how he dominated the central areas of the pitch, spreading his influence across the entire midfield zone. The touches were everywhere. Forward, backward, wide, central. He was everywhere. Arteta needed him to be. Now, here is what this really means when you look at that touch map properly. It is not just about where he was on the pitch. It is about how consistent his involvement was throughout the entire game. There were no hiding places in that map. He was active, engaged and influential from start to finish. That is not a player settling into a new position. That is a player who has found his home. Arteta was honest in his post-match comments. He said he had been tough on Lewis-Skelly, acknowledged the player had a spectacular previous season and then faced some difficult moments, but he described Lewis-Skelly as staying humble, focused and aligned with the team's goals. Arteta then admitted something remarkable. He said, "Because probably I do not have a clue. Maybe I should have done it earlier, I do not know." That is a manager publicly questioning his own decisions. That takes courage. And it shows that even the best managers are always learning. Arteta also said, "I knew what was going to happen. If it works, it is great. If we would have lost the game, what would have happened? How do you play a kid at this age in a position he has not played all season?" The risk was real. Arteta was honest about it, but he felt in his gut it was the right call, and he was proven 100% correct. Here is my honest take on that Arteta admission. It is one of the most refreshing things a manager at this level can say. He did not deflect. He did not make excuses. He simply said maybe he should have done it sooner. That humility, combined with the tactical intelligence to recognise the right moment when it came, is exactly why Arteta is one of the elite managers in world football right now. Paul Merson, speaking on Sky Sports, made the point that Lewis-Skelly should start against Atletico Madrid. Merson described him as giving energy, lifting everybody and playing on the front foot. He also made an observation that Arsenal fans need to hear. He said Zubimendi has been chasing the game recently. That is a pointed comment from a respected football voice. And journalist Sam Dean from The Telegraph put it directly. He called Lewis-Skelly a central midfielder, a crowd lifter, a foul winner. And he expressed genuine sadness at the idea that the player might leave Arsenal this summer, saying it would be such a shame. Here is how I see this situation with Lewis-Skelly. He is not just a player who had a good game. He is a player who has just proved he belongs in the starting 11 in his best position. If Arsenal are serious about winning this title and going deep in Europe, they need that version of Lewis-Skelly on the pitch, not occasionally, regularly. And the conversation about whether he leaves this summer should now be firmly closed. Bukayo Saka returns. Bukayo Saka received a Sofascore rating of 9.5 against Fulham. That is his highest rating since October 2024. Let that sink in. He has been working his way back to his best level, and against Fulham, we saw the full package return. It was Saka who set the tone for the opening goal, turning Raul Jimenez inside out with a piece of individual brilliance that reminded everyone watching exactly why he is one of the most exciting players in England. Arteta afterwards said Saka made two actions that decided the game. He said Saka has come back in the most important period of the season with a fresh mind and hunger at its highest possible level. And he calls Saturday's display a big platform for Tuesday. Let me give you my honest take on Saka's return. A rating of 9.5 is not something players stumble into. That rating reflects a performance where almost every touch, every decision, every contribution was at the highest possible level. It reflects a player who was not just involved but dominant. And the fact that this comes after a difficult period where he has been working back to his best makes it even more significant. Leandro Trossard also deserves recognition. He completed 6 take-ons against Fulham and succeeded with 100% of them. All 6. That is the most take-ons he has ever completed in a single Premier League game. And it puts him among the elite performers in the last 10 seasons for Arsenal. Only Jack Wilshere's 7 out of 7 against Brighton in 2018 sits above him. Here is the part most people are missing about Trossard's performance. 6 take-ons at 100% is not just a personal best. It is one of the finest individual dribbling displays by any Arsenal player in the last decade. In a game where Arsenal were dominant, Trossard was adding a layer of flair and directness on top of that dominance. That is not a player going through the motions. That is a player in outstanding form. Now, here is what this really means for Arsenal going forward. When Saka is at 9.5 and Trossard is completing 6 out of 6 take-ons, Arsenal's attacking options become almost impossible to defend against. Add Gyokeres in front of them, scoring 2 goals, and you have a front line that is operating at an extraordinary level at the most important stage of the season. William Saliba and the defensive foundation, sometimes the best performances come from players who do not score or assist. William Saliba against Fulham is a perfect example. 95% pass accuracy, 85 touches, 5 clearances, 4 passes into the final third, 3 recoveries, 3 aerials contested, 2 aerials won, 1 block, 0 times dribbled past, 0 goals conceded. Here is what you really need to understand about a performance like that. Saliba was not just defending, he was building. 4 passes into the final third from a centre-back means he is actively contributing to Arsenal's attacks. He is not just winning the ball and giving it short. He is picking out runners, driving play forward and behaving like an extra midfielder when the team has possession. That is the modern elite centre-back, and Saliba embodies that role completely. Let me walk you through this step by step. 85 touches means he was constantly involved. 5 clearances means he dealt with everything Fulham threw at him. 0 times dribbled pass means Fulham could not get past him when they tried to go direct. And 95% pass accuracy means he did not give the ball away under pressure. That is a complete defensive performance from one of the best centre-backs in world football right now. The historic record and what it means. Let me address something that is bigger than any single game. Mikel Arteta has now guided Arsenal to 40 wins in 58 matches across all competitions in the 2025-26 season. And that is the best win tally in a single season in Arsenal's entire history. For context, the previous record was 39 wins in 60 matches, set during the famous Arsene Wenger double season of 2001-2002. Arteta has surpassed that with games still to play. Here is how I see this record. Arsenal are not just a good team right now. They are a historically great team under a historically great manager. And when you look at the comparison being made, surpassing a Wenger double winning season in terms of wins is not a small thing. That Wenger side is considered one of the finest in English football history. The fact that Arteta's current team has eclipsed that win total tells you everything about the level this squad is operating at. And with the title race still alive and a Champions League semi-final second leg to come, the win tally could climb even higher before this season is finished. Mo Salah, speaking about the title race, said he expects Arsenal to win the Premier League. His reasoning was clear. He said Arsenal are the only team that has been together for 4 or 5 years. They have a strong bond and they have the quality. He acknowledged it is tricky and very challenging, but he backed Arsenal to come out on top. Let me put this in plain terms for you. When a rival player of Mo Salah's calibre publicly backs Arsenal to win the title, that is not a throwaway comment. Salah has competed at the highest level of this league for years. He understands what it takes to win it, and his assessment that Arsenal's bond and quality give them the edge is the kind of external validation that carries genuine weight. Marco Silva, the Fulham manager, was honest after the game. He congratulated Arsenal on the 3 points, but admitted his side made things too easy, particularly in the first half. He said Fulham expected Arsenal to start strongly and planned to start strong themselves, but acknowledged that Arsenal's quality and their ability to press made it very difficult to impose their own game. Here is my take on what is really going on with that Marco Silva comment. When an opposing manager admits his team made things too easy, he is actually paying Arsenal the highest possible compliment. He is saying that even when Fulham were trying to be ready for what Arsenal do, it was still not enough. That is how dominant Arsenal were on the day. Arteta's human moment. One moment from the day that should not be overlooked. Arteta reacted to a viral video of a young Arsenal fan celebrating the win with his father. Arteta said, "I love that. Look at the passion, the joy, the pride. He is there with his father, and that is the kind of moment we want to give our people." Let me give you my honest take on this. That quote tells you everything about the culture Arteta has built at this club. He is not just focused on trophies and tactics. He is connected to what football means to supporters. He understands that these moments, a father and son celebrating together in the stands, are what the game is truly about. A manager who sees football this way, who connects the results on the pitch to the human moments in the stands, is a manager who builds more than just a team. He builds a community, and that kind of leadership, combined with tactical excellence, is why Arsenal are where they are right now, the losers section. Not every story from the day was a positive one for Arsenal. There were 2 players who came out of the day in a more difficult position. Martin Zubimendi came on as a substitute and did not make a massive impact. The observation from multiple respected voices, including Paul Merson, was that Arsenal looked more dynamic without Zubimendi on the pitch. His recent form has not been at the level that made him such a key signing. The presence of Lewis-Skelly in his natural midfield position highlighted by comparison just how much Zubimendi has been struggling for form in recent weeks. Here is the part most people are missing about the Zubimendi situation. This is not just a form issue, it is a selection crisis. Arteta now has a genuine decision to make. Does he return to Zubimendi for Tuesday, or does he trust the evidence of his own eyes and start Lewis-Skelly against Atletico Madrid? The risk of starting Lewis-Skelly was real before the Fulham game. After his performance, the risk of not starting him feels equally significant. Arteta will be carrying this decision with him all week. Emile Smith-Rowe was the other figure who had a difficult day. Playing against his former club at the Emirates, this was an opportunity for Smith-Rowe to show Arsenal were wrong to let him go. He did not take it. He struggled to create anything, offered little in the way of forward momentum and largely went unnoticed in the game. Let me break this down for you. The £34 million Arsenal received for Smith-Rowe looks like excellent business based on what we saw on Saturday. It is a tough verdict, but the numbers and the performance support it. Smith-Rowe had the perfect stage to prove a point. He could not take advantage of it. And for Arsenal, that confirmation makes the decision to sell him look even smarter in hindsight. Looking ahead to Tuesday, everything from this Fulham win now points toward Tuesday and the Atletico Madrid match. Arsenal are going into that game with Gyokeres in the form of his life. Saka back to his best, Lewis-Skelly having just delivered a midfield masterclass, Saliba looking unbeatable at the back, and Trossard doing things with the ball that put him among the elite in the division. Here is what you really need to understand about where Arsenal stand heading into Tuesday. The evidence suggests that Arsenal right now are a team firing on every cylinder. The confidence is back, the momentum is real, and the history-making nature of this season means every player in that squad knows exactly what is at stake. Atletico Madrid will be organised, physical and difficult, but they are facing an Arsenal side that just produced one of their finest performances of the season at the most important time possible. As Lewis-Skelly himself said after the Fulham game, we go again on Tuesday. That is the mindset. Celebrate tonight, focus tomorrow, deliver on Tuesday. That is what champions do. Let me bring this all together. Arsenal 3, Fulham 0 was not just a result. It was a statement of intent from a team that refuses to let this season slip away. Viktor Gyokeres delivered the goals and proved he belongs among the best strikers in the world right now. Myles Lewis-Skelly silenced everyone who questioned whether he had a future at this club by finally playing in his natural position and being absolutely brilliant. Bukayo Saka reminded the world why he is one of the most dangerous players in English football when he is fully fit and fully confident. William Saliba was the immovable defensive foundation that gave the whole performance its structure. And Leandro Trossard added a layer of creativity and directness that was genuinely exciting to watch. Arteta made a bold call with Lewis-Skelly. It paid off completely. He made a public admission that maybe he should have done it earlier. That kind of honesty is rare in football management. It also shows that this is a manager who puts results and the club above his own pride. Here is how I see the rest of this season. The title is not won yet. There are still finals left to play. The title race is still alive. The Champions League semi-final is still very much in the balance. But the evidence from what Arsenal produced against Fulham suggests that this squad has the quality, the character and the hunger to finish what they have started. 6 points clear. 40 wins in the season, a historic record already broken, and the best days of this season may still be ahead. This is Melissa, Arsenal analyst. If you enjoyed this analysis, please subscribe, leave a comment below telling me who you think should start against Atletico Madrid on Tuesday, and share this video with every Arsenal fan you know. The journey is not over yet, we keep going.